Let's now proceed to the other pairwise comparison for the laptop selection problem. Continuing with the AHP analysis of the laptop selection problem, we are going to use the pairwise comparison procedure to determine the priorities of the three laptops using each of the criteria, which are the price, memory, size or weight, and battery. Again, we will be constructing a pairwise comparison scale to express a judgment of how much more preferred the selected laptop is. In Adrian's case, we made use of the following pairwise comparisons: Apple MacBook compared to Acer, Apple MacBook compared to Asus, and Acer compared to Asus. To show the pairwise comparison scale for the preference of the decision alternatives using AHP, here it is. The matrix for price should look like this. The matrix for memory should look like this. The matrix for size or weight should look like this. And for the battery, its matrix should look like this. The steps on how we fill the values in the matrices are the same with how we fill the pairwise comparison matrix as discussed in the earlier part of this clip. Based from the matrices, we can now conclude that, in terms of price, Acer is moderately to strongly preferred than MacBook. In terms of memory, Asus is strongly to very strongly preferred than Acer. In terms of size or weight, MacBook is very strongly preferred than Acer. And in terms of battery, Acer is strongly preferred than Asus. Using the pairwise comparison matrices of the four criterias, we will now continue synthesizing each of the four pairwise comparison matrices for us to determine the priority of each car using each criterion. A synthesization is conducted for each pairwise comparison matrix using the three-step procedure described previously for the criteria pairwise comparison matrix. For synthesization computations provided four sets priorities as shown here.
As shown here, we can see that Asus is the most preferred alternative based on price, having 0.620. Thus, Asus is the most preferred alternative based on memory, having 0.584. The Apple MacBook is the most preferred alternative based on size or weight, and the Apple MacBook is the most preferred alternative based on battery, having 0.503.
At this point, we still have no laptop is the overall best. Let us now proceed to the final step in the entire AHP process. Finally, we are on the last step of the AHP process. As discussed earlier, it has been known that the pairwise comparison results of the four criteria have the priorities of 0.470 for price, 0.244 for memory, 0.163 for size or weight, and 0.125 for battery. Now, let us use these priorities, as shown here, to develop an overall priority for the three laptops. The procedure used to compute the overall priority is to weight each laptop's priority, as shown here, by the corresponding criterion priority. For an instance, price criterion has a priority of 0.470 and the Apple MacBook has a priority of 0.156 in terms of the price criterion. Thus, let us multiply those two. That will lead to an answer of 0.073 as the priority value of the Apple MacBook based on the price criterion. To obtain all the overall priority of the Acer, Apple MacBook, and the Asus, we need to make similar computations for the memory, size or weight, and battery criteria and add the values to obtain the overall priority. And this is shown here. Ranking these priorities, we have AHP ranking of the decision alternatives. As the rank 1, Asus having 0.468. The second is the Apple MacBook having 0.292. Thirdly, and lastly, the Acer having 0.243. Now that we have the overall ranking of the laptop brands, we can now conclude that Adrian should pick Asus when purchasing a laptop because it is the topmost priority based on the AHP process. We hope that you learned something new today. That is all for today. Thank you. Until the next clip.